Hello and welcome to Behind the Lens, an inside look at what it's like to gather TV news. I'm Stuart Pittman, Chief Photojournalist for QCN Plus, and I'm glad you're here. This week, we're catching up with an old colleague, a guy who took what he learned in the TV news trenches to the world's most celebrated football game. I'm lucky he still takes my calls. There's just no telling where a TV camera will take you. Just ask Stephen Lynch. Once a lowly photog, Lynch took what he learned behind the lens all the way to the top. It's a long way from Bosock Patrol, but Lynch says he wouldn't be there were it not for what he learned shooting good old local news. Who knew? And joining us to tell us all about it is the man himself, Stephen J. Pierre Merriweather Lynch. I don't know if that's your real name, but I just like the way that it sounds. How you doing, man?
Yes, my government name. Good to be with you, Stuart. Thanks for having me, man.
Where is it you're joining us from today?
I'm in my office in Tampa, Florida. It's the off season for us, but we're staying busy with a few projects. So it's like I said, man, it's good to be with you. I've listened to, I've seen plenty of your work over the years, but the behind the lens stuff has been super cool to, be able to appreciate from afar these past couple years.
Well, it's been a fun project, and I'm just getting started because I realized I got a hell of a Rolodex. I know everybody. I know some of the most interesting people in this business from having been in this business for so long. And Stephen, honestly, you're right there near the top of the list. So I do thank you for your time.
I guess the Reader's Digest version of how you and I met. Fast forward to the job process. I'm 20. I'm sending out these manila envelopes, which before we started rolling, you and I were talking about, age, and I'm 37. I don't feel like I'm old, but yet as I tell this story, I'm sending out manila envelopes with hard copy resumes and covers. I've got a DVD of my worthless reel. I didn't have a ton of work coming out of college, but I'm doing my best. I've tried my best to personalize everything. I sent out about 50 or so hard copy resumes and covers. And let's call it 50. I call 49 of the stations, and I have one more left, and it is for WGHP in High Point, North Carolina. And I'm like, I don't want to call this place to follow up. I just got done emailing and calling, and all these stations either don't want me or don't need me.
Right.
So when I call this 50th station, that means I'm going to have to start from scratch. And sure enough, I call, and this sort of hyper British voice answers the phone. Fox 8, this is Keith. And it's our old colleague and boss manager, Keith Hale.
Jolly good.
In my opinion, jolly good. In my opinion, titan of the industry and just an awesome dude to learn from. Chief photojournalist, just to get the titles right here. But Keith was the one who picked up the phone, and I was like, a British guy in North Carolina, like this is a prank. Like it's the last thing I was expecting to talk to. But he basically was like, because you don't have any experience,
right?
We can't pay for your travel up here. You can find a way up here, then I got all the time for you. And so I was just always taught, like, if you want something, you need to go get it. And if you're really passionate about something, then it shouldn't matter the work that goes into it to being able to achieve that thing. And so to me, I was like, this is gas money. I knew a buddy that lived in Charlotte. I stayed with him. He was going to Johnson and Wales at the time. Yeah. Slept over, drove up to High Point the next morning, met all you guys, and the rest is history.
Well, the rest is history. And I remember walking past Keith Hale's office that day, and he pulls me in, and he's like, "Look at this guy," and it was you. And your tape reel, whatever, didn't have a lot of content on it, but it had you on it, and your passion shone through. And we're like, "What the hell called him?" And it's amazing why I remember that, but I do. And I'm gonna roll some video right now because this led to a lot. You came on pretty soon after as the newest photojournalist for Queen City for WGHP Fox 8.
Yep.
And you spent about 3 years there shooting news?
Yes. Yeah. So shooting news, it was 3 or 4 years, and then I spent about a year and a half ish doing the creative services stuff.
That's right. I remember when you went into creative services, I thought, who'd want to do that?
I know.
But looking back, and I've been in that department myself in the past, looking back, it was a smart move because it gave your your product and skill some polish that you went and took that and went on to bigger things. And we're alluding to that by some of the video that we're seeing right now is you in your current iteration. And
Yep.
we're going to go to a break in a minute and get into all this when we come back. But we talked about really briefly how you started out. Tell me where you are now. My first question is this, and I'm sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
already. Did you go straight from WGHP Fox 8 to Tampa?
Yes. Yeah. So I started as the photog, as you mentioned, briefly as a I guess producer for the creative services department, and then I was able to get enough of a reel together where the Bucks hired me.
That's amazing. That doesn't happen every day.
It doesn't happen every day. I applied for two. I had no affiliation to Tampa. I had never been to Tampa. I was a football fan growing up, and still am, of course.
Sure.
So I knew enough about the Bucks to kind of like work my way through the interview, and I knew enough about the players and all that kind of stuff. And um, I shout out to this woman Jessica Larson, who was the she no longer works for the Bucks, but the assistant of the boss that hired me. He had so many resumes to work through. He actually tasked her with going through some of the reels, and she was like, "This guy seems like there's something here." Um, and sure enough, she was. I kind of owe in a way my my career to the Bucks to Jessica, because if she doesn't get my reel in front of our old director,
Right.
the job ironically that I have now, I don't ever work for the Bucks.
It truly is an amazing story, and I wanna get into it when we come back because you didn't just stumble into any NFL team. You stumbled into one that, did quite well for themselves, and you were there for the whole thing. And I am gonna wanna hear all about it, but as I try and push these buttons and talk at the same time, I wanna go to a quick break, and we'll be right back. And we're back to Behind the Lens, an inside look at what it's like to gather TV news. And this week, just where learning such skills can take you. We're joined by our good buddy, Stephen Lynch. Stephen is a director of production with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is that the correct title? Does that fit on a business card? I mean, that's kind of long and lengthy.
We're working on it. I got to get a business card for it to fit on first. I got to find those bad boys.
How long have you been with the Bucks?
This is going to be my 13th season. Lucky 13, I hope.
That seems impossible that that much time has passed since you were out shooting drive-by shootings. Um,
Do you feel like the time I wonder if this applies to news too, where it's like I always tell people working for the Bucks, or really just the NFL in general, it feels like double the time and half the time at once. Cause it's like, man, you've lived some lives, and then some, but then you're also like, there's an element where it's like, it feels like just yesterday where I was doing XYZ.
Yeah. Well, as you get older, time flies by even quicker. I can do a bad afternoon in 10 minutes, man. Things that used to just absolutely crack my skull open, sit quietly,
Mhm.
withstand
Yeah.
it in a way that I couldn't even at your age. But yeah, get in all you can because life moves fast. And I got to say, by looking at some of your pictures, you, my man, have stuffed a lot into your 37 years. And I'm a little jealous because since I last saw you, man, you become a world traveler. You have befriended some very impressive people, and I understand why. Um, tell me what your normal day is like now, because if I tell my wife that you're director of production at Tampa Bay Buccaneers, she's gonna go, "Okay, a video guy?
Yeah.
What is it you do?"
Yeah. I manage a team of 5. We do all the in-house production for the Bucks. Social media, if you follow any of the social media accounts for the Bucks, we do that. If you go to a Bucks game and you see the video content on the big boards, that's us. We do have a local television partner, WFLA, down here, that our content goes on. We will also put out stuff for NFL Network and ESPN and such, and league partners.
Sure.
And yeah, it's a blast. We do long form documentary, we do short form promo, we do highlight packages, all kinds of stuff. And in large part, it's because of the skills that I learned when I was hanging out with you and Keith and all those guys over at WGHP.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about that because I think that's what you and I really want to talk about. And it's not just your glory that you've achieved since you've left news, and you've done quite well. And we're going to get into the what the Tampa Bay Bucks accomplished while you were there. But you would not have gotten that job. You would not have been there, I assume, had you not utilized what it is you learned with us at a mid market TV station in Central North Carolina. Who'd have thought that would have led you there?
I agree, and I think it's cool that I actually think about this often, Stuart, where it's like in many ways, as cheesy and cliche and awful as it's going to sound, I kind of have outlived any dreams that I had for myself. I've always been a passionate person that was, taught hard work and so on and so forth. But a lot of people are, and I think in many ways, I've been incredibly fortunate to be surrounded by. I'm not trying to kiss up, but it's surrounded by people like yourself where they could look past my youthful arrogance and ignorance and still teach me. And the fact that market for 47, I think, is what WGHP still is. Top 50 market right out of the gate for me. I didn't know anything. I'm this kid from film school that, oh, I gotta, I was given this job. Like, I gotta make sure everybody knows that I know what I'm doing. When in reality, I didn't. But you guys stuck with me, and I always tell people, um, my interns, my producers, hey, I'm still teaching a lot of the principles I learned with you guys about shot sequencing, shot composition, nap placement. The basics and the more some of the more complex things with assembling packages or long form doc or whatever. The lessons that I learned with you guys, and I always share with people. And again, this is not lip service. I think that if you want to know anything, just darn near anything about life and life experience working TV news, but also if you want to know about the craft and this idea, you and I would talk about this all the time. TV news is awesome for a million reasons, and one of them is certainly you get another chance tomorrow. Hey, what if today was great? Awesome. You get another chance tomorrow. If today was not good, all right, we can make up for it. We can make up for it in 12 hours. Like, it's always cool to be able to the quote that I always tell people from Stuart Pittman, the main quote that sticks in my head. I know you're on bated breath. It's the only, I'm going to edit it a little bit. It's the only job where you can start your day in the crack house and you can end your day in the governor's mansion.
Sure,
And it's
sure.
so cool. I mean, it was an awesome way. I talk about and I'll finish here. The way that I was able to explore my community and be exposed to people,
Yeah.
because there's the craft element of it, which I was invaluable. But then there was also the people skill reps and just being able to um, work a room and talk
Ex-
to the rich and the poor and the all everybody in between. Uh,
And
it was awesome.
I have to say that you're quite naturally good at that, and that helps because it's that friendly attitude and that humble air that you had that made you a pleasure to teach.
I was not humble, but thank you.
Like,
Yes.
we're humble, but you faked it well, you know? And that counts, because had you come on as this brash know-it-all from film school, I wouldn't have even knew the time of day, and you know me well enough to know I'm sincere in that. So
Yeah.
the fact that you were fun to be around was all it took, and, back in the day at WGHP, we did nothing but snap towels and win trophies. I still talk about what an incredible place that was when I was there. I spent 16 years there. I love that place. Those were my people. Those were my family. And
Yeah.
I hope you had the same experience. I feel like you.
And I mean, real quick, it's naming names. It's Chris Weaver, it's Matt Jensen, it's Kevin Wren, it's Timmy Hawks, it's everybody in between. It's Kevin Daniels, it's Angie Wren, it's all those folks that that we knew forever,
Sure.
and we still know they're still with us. But it's like, we just don't work with them every day. But it really did feel like, for a 20-year-old kid, um, the closest thing to family in the workplace.
Sure, sure. No, we've both got lifelong friends that we share among us, from that time there. But you didn't stop at WGHP Fox 8 in High Point, North Carolina. You took your act to Florida to the big time, and that's what I want to hear about when we come back because, man, you've had a decade. I don't even like sports, and I understand what it is you have done. Hold that thought. We're going to be right back to Behind the Lens, an inside look at what it's like to gather TV news. We'll be right back. And we're back to Behind the Lens, an inside look at what it's like to gather TV news. Someone who knows what it's like to gather news is today's guest, Stephen Lynch, who's currently what, the director of production for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Man, you got to get a shorter title there. Maybe
I
you
know,
don't.
man. I know it's been a cool ride. I started as a humble producer, and now I am the title that you mentioned. So it's been a fun 13 years.
Well, as we mentioned in our previous segments, um, you have gone on from a 5 some years of shooting news and marketing in a local TV station to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and, everyone who knows anything about me knows that I'm not really a sports guy at all, but even I understand who the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are and what an illustrious tenure they've had of the past decade or so, and as this, footage that I didn't mean to queue up already shows, you were there for the whole thing. This is the famous, Lombardi Trophy toss in the boat parade following the 2021 Super Bowl. Did I get that right?
It's absolutely right. The Bucks defeated the Chiefs, and we won the Super Bowl. Everybody's jacked up, and then the next 24 hours, our chief marketing officer is like, "Hey, we're about to get onto a Zoom call with the mayor so we can plan this boat parade down the Hillsborough River." And to my knowledge, I think we're the first like full on boat parade. I know Boston has the duck boats, but
Yeah.
I mean that you can't go anywhere with people still talking about. It's kind of like I remember where I was kind of thing.
Sure, and that's
And
huge right there.
where I was that white T-shirt that was standing next to Tom as he threw the trophy across the bay there. And I look at him after, and we're obviously we're talking about Tom Brady,
Mhm.
and the I look at him after, and I'm like, "You're a wild man," and he's like, "This tells you how measured Tom is in everything that he does and how smart he is and I'm like, "You're a wild man." He's like, "Not really, because one of two things happens. We catch it and Cam Brate's the hero, or he drops it and you got 10 drunk dudes jumping in the Hillsborough River. Like you're gonna win regardless."
It's a heck of a photo op no matter what
I
happens.
know. And you're almost kind of like, man, I wish he dropped it just to see what that would have looked like. But the good guys won.
Well, I know it's not something you can tell me in 2 sentences, but, what is it like to, and I kinda know this as well, but, those outside our business don't. What's it like to be around globally famous people like that? Are they just regular people? I assume they are to some degree.
To some degree, they are. I think
Yeah,
everybody's a little bit different. I think that, starting with Tom, he is among, if not the most famous person that I'll have ever worked with.
sure.
And the kindness and the time, I sat with him 30 minutes a month, and he was good enough to be able to. And it's during COVID, so no networks can come into our building. Nobody has access to us, and
Right.
he was kind enough to sit with me and give us, whether it was social media stuff, documentary stuff, whatever we needed for that 30 minutes, he was with us. And I would say we established a really nice relationship. We weren't going out for beers on Friday night, but at the same time, it was cool to I never thought, growing up watching that guy, I never thought that I'd be in a position to have that. And I think the coaches I've come in contact with, the players, to a certain extent, I feel like there's been some celebrities along the way.
Right.
But I think you're right. I mean, I think for the most part, we just did a shoot yesterday with Burt Kreischer, who's a comedian,
Sure.
and awesome dude. He spent 10 hours with us shooting on the beach at Treasure Island, and it was just great to see a guy who has achieved his own level of fame. And we were like, hey, Bert, we set the green room up for you. It's got your food and your Gatorade and water and all that stuff. And he's like, why do I want to go to the green room when all you guys are out here? And so he sits on the beach with us. He's got his little beach chair, and
Yeah, yeah.
I was so pleasantly. It was my first time working with him in that capacity, and he was so kind and generous with his time, and just one of the people.
That's awesome. We're showing some of these clips as you speak, and I have looked at these clips all morning long because I edited them together. And there's that shot of you shaking the president's hand. Tell me about that. I mean, you took this all the way to the White House. Come on.
I know. That was another thing, kind of like the parade where you're like, oh yeah, we won the Super Bowl. That means we get to go to the White House. And it was a there and back trip, same day.
Sure.
We took a private charter up there, and I because of my the nature of my job, I was up there documenting it, and our photographer Kyle was like, "Hey, do you want a photo?" Because everybody after the ceremony's over, it's just kind of people shaking the president's hand, but
Sure.
he gets mobbed, like everybody's on top of him, and so security. And Kyle, my photographer, our photographer with the Bucks, is like, "Do you want your photo?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I've got the memories. I'm here." And then I'm like, at the time, I think I was 32, 33, and throughout the course of the few minutes go by, and I'm like talking to myself. I'm like, "Dude, get over yourself. Go down there and shake the man's hand."
Yeah,
Like you don't necessarily need a photo, but go down there and shake the man's hand. Like, when are you going to be back here? And then
exactly.
kind of the Red Sea sort of parted, and Joe's all of a sudden kind of, by himself.
True.
And
There
Mr.
he is right there.
Yeah, there you go. And that's the photo. I kind of just go up, shake his hand. He's like, in typical sort of like older man fashion, he's like, "Are you with the outfit?" And he's got his super cool sunglasses on. And I shake his hand, "Yes, sir." And it was a quick interaction. "Thanks for coming. Thanks for having us." Um, and I look to my left, and Kyle's there, and he's like, "Gotcha, dude." And he sends me that photo, and like, I could have cried. It was so cool because you're like, I know deep down I wanted that photo, and I'm glad that I got it. It's framed right here in my office. It's cool. We had like, he on the little White House stationery. They also sent us little um like, just a thank you for coming and
Sure.
congrats, basically, and then he signs it.
Well, as your unofficial drunk uncle, when I saw that photo, I was just so pleased and proud, not because of politics or football or any of that, but just where you let your skills take you. And I talk all the time about what a magic ticket to everything a television camera on your shoulder can be. You might as well put it on my tombstone because that's about what I've learned in this life. And you
Well, and
have
for
taken your
you,
skills.
and I think for you, I'm interrupting you rudely, but I think for you, like, you have seen much more than I have, and I think for you, you nailed it in the fact that a TV camera, a video camera, and the ticket that it gives you to be able to find yourself in rooms that I know I would never be in
Right.
otherwise. I'm not a business student. I don't have a law degree. I'm not someone that's important enough to run the country and intelligent enough. And it's like, I'm just kind of this person that was able to figure out a way to string shots together. And it served me well.
Well, man, that is a incredible way to wrap up this episode because we're running out of time. But it certainly is, as you well know, a thesis I very much believe in. A television camera, being a part of the media, can provide you access to the good, the bad, and everything in between. And you are proving that. As we wrap things up, though, I've got a very short question, which may have a long answer, but keep it brief. And that is, what's next?
I don't know. I'll get married and get back to you.
Good enough, man. Congratulations on those impending nuptials. Thank you so much, Stephen, for coming on and sharing some of what you know and really helping out an old photog. I appreciate it. I love you, and we'll talk at you soon.
Love you too, Stuart. Thanks for having me, man.
Anytime, we'll have you back. And we will be back next time with an episode that I haven't given any thought to yet, but we'll come up with something and it'll be engaging. And I hope you come back and join us. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.